There's a whole chapter on that award ceremony. You two collaborated on in Scientific American coupled oscillators and biological synchronization, right? Which just knocked me out because it combined coupled oscillators like pendulums and heart cells that beat in synchrony with fireflies that flashed in synchrony, covered a whole range of things and explained them in story and vivid imagery. And I just loved it. And I wanted to know more. And I called Steve up out of the blue at MIT, where he was teaching at the time. And he was very generous. And he asked me to come over and we talked. And we talked, as we do, now we become close friends. And we talk for hours whenever we talk. So we broke for lunch and went down to the MIT cafeteria. And I got an insight into fame that I had never seen before. A young man started to come over to the table, and I'm used to people recognizing me from television, but this kid was trembling. And he came to the table and he said, "Excuse me, are you Steve Strogatz?" Was there one particular moment where you realized that we were talking to somebody and realized they ought to know more or anything like that?
No,
What made you put pen to paper or finger to keyboard?
My father found an old typewriter in the basement of the bank that he worked for, and he brought it home. I was about 12 at the time. And if you've got a typewriter, you've got to do something with it. Yeah.
What made you know you wanted to write for the public?
Yeah, for me, I don't think of it in terms of writing as much as teaching. For me, the impetus was always to teach. And I remember they gave us some little quiz or questionnaire in junior high school, one of these things like to forecast what you might become someday. And my answer was teacher. I always felt like I wanted to be a teacher. And I don't really know where that came from, but I know that it was problematic because at that time, no one would listen to me. So that is.
When you communicate math, is it important when you make it clear to non-mathematicians something about your work, that it's not only useful to the lay people who'd be reading it, but possibly to scientists too who aren't in your field?
My name's Len Reynolds. I'm an engineer at the Spring Research and Manufacturers Association in Sheffield.
Spring research.
Spring research.
You mean like in the bed springs?
Like bed springs. Yeah, that's right. And I think it's just solved a problem that we in the spring industry have been working on for the last 20 years.
What was the problem?
To decide to find a test for wire that would predict whether it will make good springs.
Oh. Some do and some don't.
Some do and some don't. And
something that never occurred to
I never thought about myself.
I mean,
can you tell which one is going to poke up through the mattress?
Well, nothing they could detect would tell them in advance whether the wire was good or bad.
How do you apply mathematics from chaos theory to that and solve the problem?
Okay, you need...
Because I have a wire at home, I'm really worried.
A survey of their readers to find out what sort of things they really liked. And what they thought they were going to get was what they really liked were the things that were really useful, practical stuff, engineering, medicine, things like that. And what came back from the readers, who turned out to be people like lawyers and doctors and that sort of thing, was, no, what we want is to have our minds blown away by 11-dimensional space. And, but we want to be able to understand the first 2 pages of the article.
They expected to find that the most emailed science articles would be practical applications. And they found that there were articles instead about things that inspired a feeling of awe, which awe is, I would say, very similar to having your mind blown away.
Yes.
You'll never forget it.
But notice the audience reaction to that. There were many people that it was the first time that you've heard this argument. And we could feel your pleasure up here.
I got it.
I tell you, I had to lift my feet. It was oozing across the stage.
No, really. I mean, because you were just having a mathematical moment. So if you have not felt that before, that's what we live for.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we're doing. We're trying to get that every day, and of course, we don't.
yeah,
We only rarely get it, but we're like addicts that we're looking for that over and over.
that's right. Now,
We don't know what to say. We just need great teachers and then leave them alone. But okay, that's the answer. Anyone have a better answer?
no, I mean, yeah, I agree completely.
That's not a real answer, though.
everything.
That's the problem. That's not the
Yeah, it's
real answer.
restating the problem.
That's restating the. It's certainly true that a lot of mathematicians you'll see in the common room or the are musical. I don't know enough about musicians to know if they're mathematical. Maybe you have
do we
an
know,
opinion.
we
What
know,
do we?
we know a lot of musicians. Do many of them seem good at math? We have to ask.
Yeah.
One we know is married to a financial advisor. There are a lot of unanswered questions, and you have to pick among them.
Okay, there's one called the PNP problem, and you can get $1 million if you solve this. And
Wait, let me get a pencil.
Yeah,
It's like waiting for this beautiful ending to the story.
Like any good conversation, this makes me want to ask you 5 more questions, which we don't have time for, but the next time we talk, we will. And the best thing about it was that it was fun, and just the way math is. And thank you so much for being part of it.
Thank you.